This conference will now be recorded.
All right, awesome. Thank you everybody for coming. It's a zoning board meeting on July 20th. I don't have to do any more of the COVID reading, right? You can just go right to it. Awesome. We'll start with continuing zoning board case 21-11, Charles Sargent. Hello. So you guys had, does he have to represent his, should he represent his thing, or do we just go with the sidewalk?
Did he, I wasn't at the last, did he go through the criteria? Or
We didn't go all the way through the criteria.
Yeah, she can come up and start talking about the.
Okay. Awesome. Do you mind coming up and just speaking into the microphone there and giving us a rundown on the site walk?
I'm sure the board realized when we did the site walk, we discovered
Can you, for
that
the record, just introduce yourself?
Charles Sargent.
Thank you.
I'm sure the board realizes that when we did the site walk, there was some building of the property that should have been done. I've been in contact with the Department of Environmental Services to see what we can do about mitigating that. I talked to them extensively last week, but haven't been able to get in touch with them this week. Because everybody's out of the office. I did go up there and map out the area that's affected, and it's about 2,000 square feet of wetlands that have been impacted. That's going off the map the town gave me. And on here, I did mark the area that hit. This is essentially the edge of the fill that was done. And I'd be happy to pass it, send it up there so everybody can look at it. But approximately between 120 and 125 feet from the street is where the fill ends. The start of the wetlands is approximately 90 feet from the street and goes off into a triangle. And so I approximately one leg of the triangle at 45 feet and the other at about 90. It worked out about 2,000 square feet of impacted area. I have no problem in mitigating whatever the Department of Environmental Services wants, or if they want me to dig that area up and return it to wetlands, I'm more than happy to do it. I don't really care, because it doesn't affect anything that I'm planning to do with the property. I have been given permission by Mr. Youssef to deal with the Department of Environmental Services.
I'm going to give you the information that I have. So I spoke with DES last week, and I know they had been over to the property. I believe it was last Thursday. I'm pretty sure it was last Thursday. And I spoke with them, and they have been trying to reach the owner. Might be holding you up. I know they like to deal with the landowner, or you need to provide them with the documentation that you've been authorized. This is from DES.
Okay,
So,
I have spoken with both Jen and Jeff and have notified both of them that.
Since Thursday?
I have not been able to reach them since Thursday. I've left
Okay.
them messages. I left the messages. If you'd like to check my phone log, I'll be
No, that's fine.
I'm telling you, I've called them every day, several times every day for the last week and a half, and have not got through to any multiple messages. Jeff, I do know, was on vacation all last week.
So I do believe from Hampshire DES perspective, this is still unresolved, is where I have, because she told me as soon as she had information or a resolution or a plan, that she would send that along to me as well as yourself. So I have not heard anything either beyond that.
That's unfortunate, because I did go up there and did stake out what I believe was the edge of the wetlands. I took it upon myself to go up there and stake it out for them. And did ask her to notify me when they were going to be up there so I could go over things with them at the time. I did not know that they had been up there, because they had not contacted me to let me know that they were doing such.
I suppose it could be a possibility they want to deal with the landowner directly.
Okay, and that's possible, that's the case. He has, you'll give me, I do have that paperwork that you asked me to have signed and that,
The lease.
no, for me to be able to act on his behalf here, representing him at this board meeting. And also stipulated on it that I could do the same thing with the Department of Environmental Services. Is quite frankly, they're going to run it, in my opinion, they're going to drag things out, especially the wife. The wife seems to think that they have done no wrong.
I don't know how you guys feel. I don't know, to correct me if we're out of line here. I'm kind of inclined to wait until the DES stuff is sorted out before we hear this case. Are you guys,
Yes.
everybody's kind of, are we in line? We're not
That should be resolved.
out of whack on that?
Yeah.
The-
We have
okay.
no business to go forward if there's violations.
You're okay.
The only problem that I have with that is that part of what has been suggested is having an environmental engineer come out to the property. And I have contacted the same gentleman that drew up this original plan and that, but he can't get out there until at least September. That's the earliest that he can possibly get out there and look at this. And unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to be the one who's going to have to pony up the money to have the environmental engineer come out there. It will come off the purchase price of the property or whatever when I purchase it later on. But again, they're not interested in, or at least don't seem very interested in dealing with the situation. And so I would like to know whether the board is going to, also I'm looking for from you is a special exemption for what I'm doing and whether or not I am happy. I know that nothing of this can go forward. None of it can go forward without the Department of Environmental Services and that. But for me to have to pony out $2,000, it's between $1,400 to $2,000 just to have him come out there and redraw this map for them. And then, things not go anywhere with the board here.
I can appreciate where you're coming from. I think the hard part would be to allow the special exception on a site that doesn't look like it will look once you've finished abating. You know, we don't know what it'll look like once they go in there and start looking how much the site's going to change. So it would be hard. I would feel hard pressed to move forward on a site we don't know what it looks
The
like.
only thing we have to deal with here is the edge of the wetlands, and everything I propose is in front of that area. So nothing that I'm doing comes anywhere near the back of the wetlands. I'm dealing with the front half of the property. The wetlands have 90 feet back. That's the closest that they come to the street. And so everything I'm doing is in that first half of the property. So
This is assuming that he hasn't filled half that piece of property with fill that we don't realize yet, and now the state comes out and compares it to their maps, and we find out there's,
Okay,
you know,
this is the official map that's with the state.
dated is it current? I don't know.
No, it's like 2009. That's when it was drawn up. And this is what they're going to base everything, this is what's been filed with the state. That's the only map that anybody has or whatever. And the edge of the wetlands is clearly delineated in here. And that's what I staked out was the edge of the wetlands. And approximately, as I said, 90 feet from the street, and it goes back, in a triangle from that point. But that's the closest that it comes. And you have this, I believe you have this exact same maps in front of you as part of your package.
Once they determine where the wetlands are, then where are the setbacks that you can use the property so many feet from the wetlands as well. So
I believe it's 25 feet from the edge of the wetlands.
Well, we'll have to see what the delineation is, and if there's any mitigation required. You know, the board does have the ability, if they wanted to rule on this with the condition that this issue be resolved, but, you know, with an outstanding violation on the property, it's certainly within your power as well to not grant any relief or special exceptions on a property with an outstanding violation, and it hasn't been resolved. So those are the options as I see it.
it's just going to go from us to the planning board, and they're going to go.
And the plan, and
Right, it's not moving any quicker.
the thing is, everything I'm doing with the planning board is, the only thing that's not within the zoning or whatever is what we're talking about tonight. This is my only question mark on the property. Everything else, I know I'm going to be able to do what I want to do. It's this one issue that whether or not I'm going to be able to assemble my products there on site or not. And that is a huge thing for me. And it makes the property that much more useful to me, and essentially it keeps me much more interested in making sure that the property is properly taken care of. It's my home. I have a 5-year lease on it. It's my intent to eventually purchase this property, and I can't none of that can go through without the wetlands being taken care of, being mitigated. That's, I realize I'm asking a little bit here, but if I know where I stand on this issue, I'm happy to delay everything with the planning board until everything after that goes on, because I know everything at the planning board I can do. I can do what I want to with the property. Now, the property is zoned for me to be able to put up storage sheds, to display the storage sheds, do all the other things that I'm looking to do with the property. The only thing that I need a special exemption on is the manufacturing on the site. And that's the only reason why I'm not just putting everything on hold right at the present moment, is because I need that question answered so that I can be able to put forth my best effort to get this situation taken care of, and press Yusuf to cooperate with me in getting it mitigated and taken care of.
Do you have that paperwork saying you're authorized to review today? So
Yeah.
at least we have that on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just stuck in here with a bunch of other paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he wants us to hear it, he can hear it.
Yeah.
You know, we should be. And
It's
it's have to
all
reapply.
Appealed and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that might be something. Because if he just does the continuation, then it's just limbo.
It's all.
Yeah. I know that.
So, and Leanne, just correct me if I'm, because we're not really supposed to provide guidance, right? So we have to, we're not supposed to provide guidance. So I'm trying to not overstep our line. So if you want us to hear your case, we can hear your case. Just know that if we hear your case and it fails, then it fails. You'd have to go through court and get it appealed.
Once you're
And,
denied,
I'm aware of that.
person's
No,
continue.
but
versus if you continue it until the DES situation is sorted out and then it's heard, it's the same situation, but you might not have as many question marks with your case. So not.
And you need 3 yeses.
I understand what you're saying, but I also, I think that it's not totally out of line to be able to say that, I'm granted permission provided that I fulfill everything required of DES, and there's multiple other steps beyond this board that are going to make sure that I'm cooperating and doing it, and Department of Environmental Services is certainly going to make sure that I cooperate.
Well, they'll
with
make
that.
sure the owner though. I mean, they're gonna.
Well, the owner. Now, again, a lot of the stuff is going to work out would be having to negotiate with USF, because I'm probably going to be the one up there with an excavator, excavating things out and straightening it out and mitigating the situation. I'm a very proficient equipment operator. I can go out there.
The part of the hangup is it's not you, it's not personal, it's the
Okay.
property is getting the variance. So if the variance is approved, it's the property that gets the variance. So if tomorrow you get this variance and you decide you don't want to do this anymore, this property still has the variance associated with it.
Yeah, it's not for you.
Yeah, also, if you were to begin excavation and decide you didn't want to do it anymore or did it wrong, you're not liable, the property owner is liable for this violation, not you.
I realize that the property owner is liable for the violation. But this whole thing, it surprised me and hamstringed me, because I certainly I didn't know about any of this until I went out there. I hadn't even been on the property other than walking it, seeing it from the street, and when I was working at Fast Cash, seeing I waited a little bit from when I built the garage out behind Fast Cash.
So what I'm gathering is you don't want to do a continuation. You want to have it heard now, regardless of the outstanding issues.
I'm getting the impression that you would prefer, that the board would prefer that I continue this at the present moment and come back, at least after I have. And I'm going to continue it for right now. And I'll talk with the Department of Environmental Services, and then when I have a plan with them, how we're going to mitigate things, then come back forward with the board.
And this is no fault of yours,
I realize that. You're just doing your job. Okay? I'm not taking anything personal here. I'm just, I'm just trying to avoid spending a lot of money on something that I'm just going to get shoved back in my face.
I certainly appreciate that.
And that's all that I'm looking at.
Did you rope it off?
No.
She said it's all roped off now.
No, I'm aware of that, because Pike Industries decided to park a dump truck and an excavator and some other truck up there. And I called USF and told him, the town is going to go nuts if they see that equipment on that site. I don't know and it turns out they were just doing work up the street. It was just a convenient place for them to park. It's no fault of USF. But he immediately went down there and roped everything off and that. But again, it was simply, Pike just thought it was a convenient place to pull off the road. Nobody's going to say anything with it. And so there was nothing else going on up there. But I've been keeping better track of every time I drive up and down the road, if anything's going on, I'm kind of aware of it.
Well, that's not necessarily true though, Mr. Sergeant, because since we were there on the site review, there's been more soil dumped on that site. Are you aware of that?
No.
Yes, there has. There's been more soil dumped to the Laconia side of where the soil was before.
I haven't been up, like I said, I'm looking at it when I drive by, okay?
And that's all I was doing, looking at it when I drive by, and there's more piles there now.
Okay, well, I personally, I didn't notice them. I noticed that it looked like a pile or two had been knocked down.
Pile, 2 or 3 piles added since we were there on that site.
Okay. That I do know, I have no knowledge of that. I do know that I did go up there and, as I said, put in some stakes, marking out what I consider the boundaries of the wetlands. Again, a little bit of interpretation, because the property isn't filled all the way to the back. So I'm extrapolating if it was from this point, if at this point, this how far it is, measuring back approximately 120 feet from the street.
Okay, so you want to continue it till next month?
Yeah.
Do we need a motion for that?
The date is the 17th of August.
I can make a motion that we continue ZBA case, let me make sure I have the right number, 21-11 until 8/17/21.
I second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. So we'll see you again in a month.
All right. I thank you for your time.
Sorry that it's been a hassle for you.
Well,
Was that 10 or 11? Because remember, that's the one we had issues with
It's
last
11.
time.
It's
It is
11.
11.
All righty, on to case 21-13, Barry and Kelly Lee. Thank you. A few minutes. Awesome. All right, so what we usually do, we just have the applicant present what they're going for, and then we go through the 5 criteria and work through it, and we talk as a board afterwards, take public input for that.
My name is Kelly Lee and this is Barry Lee. We live at 68 High Street, and we had erected a 7x7 resin shed, and we hadn't realized we needed a permit. I had a problem with that. But Charles Bowden came out and said there had been a complaint by a neighbor, and so that it had been on their property. So I went up to the property line. I didn't think it was because there's like shrubbery between the 2 property lines, and there's a metal fence, like a little wire metal fence that the property owner owns, and so I thought it was right on the line, but he actually owns a foot over the line because I went to the line and I ran the string. And so on June 3rd, I immediately filed, I moved the shed forward a foot, and I also found out it's supposed to be 10 feet from the boundary line. But I live in the village, so most of the lots are only 0.23 acres. So if I put the shed, and you can see some of the pictures, so the first picture is shed. And I also went on Facebook and I messaged the neighbors and told them that I immediately moved it, as well as apologized for putting it on theirs. You can also see the back of the shed that they have a shed that's 3 feet from the property line. I have a measuring tape. So theirs is also not in compliance. And there's an aerial view to show that if I move that's of our house to show that if I move the shed 10 feet forward in any direction, because we're on a corner lot, that would be in the middle of our yard. So that's pretty much it. So I filled out a variance to hopefully keep the shed, and we take great pride in our property and we just want to keep things organized.
So Matt, can I just ask a clarification? When you submitted the application, you said it was on the property line, so we have a 0 setback. Do you now have a new number?
It's a 0 setback.
It's still a
Yeah,
0 setback.
It was actually a foot on his property.
So now it's on the line.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Is your plan to keep it right where it is at?
If I can, and if I
On the-
can't, then I'll probably have to sell it, because I can't put it anywhere else, because our property is small. Like I have shrubbery all around the house, so it's most I could do is put it against that, but it would look stupid, so I just give it that.
This is the block side of your.
Yeah.
Okay, just make sure I have it. Times I get confused.
I think the aerial view kind of shows it a little bit better.
Can you come away from the property line more at all, or is it really
Like, it's-
stuck?
like, I mean, I would be willing to bring it up a little bit more as far as his is, they bothered him.
Personally, I think it would be good if it was a foot or 2 off the property line. That way there, if you had to do anything in the back of the shed, you can still access it from your property. You don't have to go on your neighbor's property. So, a foot or 2
Yep.
off the line
Yep.
is my thoughts on it.
Any other questions?
What is the use of the shed?
I just wanted to put my gardening supplies in because I do a lot of gardening.
No other questions? No? Any public comment? Yep. He has to identify himself. Yes, yep.
Yeah, can you come to the mic, please? You just say your name and your address.
Hi, my name's Eric Pyra. I live at 37 Cedar Street, which is next door to the Lees. My property is at the corner of Cedar and High, so my backyard is the property line between the two. I got a message from my son on Memorial Day that there was a shed going up. And that was all I knew of it. And all I did was call Town Hall because I thought last year that the setbacks were changed to 10 feet through either, I don't know, through the ballot or not. So I just called to find out. And, you know, if they had come over to my house and asked me, hey, we're going to put a shed up, you know, let's figure out where we can put it. But in the determination of the variance, right now, if I look out my backyard, I have a nice green space except for where the shed is. And if I were to sell my house, I think that would be a detriment to my property because someone's looking at the back of a shed that's sitting on the property line. I have some pictures. I mean, you can see the string that she put up, and it is, you know, 2 inches over the property line. And I didn't have a problem. I wouldn't have a problem, you know, if they had just knocked on the door and said, hey, we want to put a shed up. You know, it's going to be close to the property line, and I wouldn't have cared. You know, but it just went up, and you know, it's kind of. I have some pictures from my side, and to do that. So I think it needs to be further away. It doesn't have to be 10 feet, no. But I have to deal. You know, they have a fence on the majority of the back of their house, and I don't know what is it, 3 feet off the property line, something like that. Yeah, they put it off the property line. But they also take all their leaves and all their grass droppings and they throw it over the fence. And the fence between that was put up before I bought the house 20 years ago. You know, it pushes through it and, you know, it encourages skunks and whatever to come through there. So, but, you know, it comes over through the fence onto my property. So, you know, I'm just looking for relief. You know, the whole backyard is their property, is their backyard. Our backyards are together, and you know, push comes to shove, it needs to be further away from the property.
As an abutter, do you have a number in your head that you feel is?
I don't know, 3, 4 feet. I don't know. You know, I haven't looked at it close enough because I've been. Just, I don't know.
Is it your shed that was showing there in that picture that she had?
That's her.
Yes, and his shed.
It's his shed.
It's his shed.
One of these.
Yeah.
My shed was put up 10 to 12 years ago,
Okay.
before they owned the house, and I had permission from that neighbor.
And how far is that from the line there?
3 feet. And there's-
over 3 feet.
Oh, that's what that tape measure, I couldn't
Yes.
quite figure out what that was about.
It's one of those metal sheds.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So that was measured from the fence or
From the
measured
property line.
from the property line?
This is from his side.
and that was put there before the setbacks changed. They got the setbacks changed last year.
Yeah, we had a zoning amendment that changed the setback to 10 feet for anything under 200 square feet. And the full setback if it's over 200 square feet.
This is just, do we have to take comments from online still? No, okay.
Is this the fence you're talking about, Eric?
Is it green?
Yeah, it's got a
Yeah.
green stake.
Yeah,
And whose fence is that?
it's mine.
That's your fence?
Yeah, it was there before I bought the house.
And that's on the line or is 3 feet from the line?
It's
you said?
1 foot.
So the back of this shed is the property line.
Okay.
And then this is 1 foot back from the property line.
And then there's a stockade fence on the Lee's property, which is how many feet off the property line?
About.
Do you have your picture, ma'am, that you had?
Oh,
Show
there we
where-
go.
Down over there.
Thank you.
And there's no doubt over the years, eventually, you're not gonna be able to see the back of their shed once it grows up. Like,
No, I would, no, in a couple of years, I would, ideally, if they had just put it a little further, I think they chop down some brush and, just keep the wall.
We probably wouldn't have approached him anyway because he has not been the friendliest of neighbors to us. So, we didn't realize there was a problem, but if we had, I would have asked him.
But in your defense, you didn't know that you required
No.
a permit or a variance or what the setbacks were.
So 3 feet is a reasonable, just, I'm inclined the way you are, Brandon, that no setback is probably is a bit
Right.
much.
Whether
But-
2 feet, 3 feet, as long as you can get behind the shed, eventually things are gonna grow up. You won't have to see the shed from his property.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I just don't want to have to look at the fence looking out my back window. I mean, the shed.
The shed.
And
But if you moved it 3 feet forward, would you still see the shed?
until things grow back, yes. But, in the meantime, if things grow back, but I just don't want them to store things behind the fence, behind it, allow things to grow back.
He also has a raised patio right there that is 5 feet from the line.
We're not here to discuss anything on my property. We're here to discuss the
A
shed.
3 foot setback as far as being a butter goes, that's reasonable for you?
Yeah, 3, 4 feet, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
I'm just trying to find a number because I have a feeling we're going to end up with a number here. So I'm trying to find one that works for the abutter also. I think that's important.
And the landowner, 2 feet, 3 feet, what would,
2 feet, I could move it. It would be adjacent with the fence and it wouldn't look like it sticks out into the yard. And it would still give 3 feet to the fence. It is.
You guys have any more questions for him? We're going to have to close the public comment right now.
Any other public comment?
Is there any other public comment, by the way? That's a good point. Anyone online for the sake of clarity? Anything else from you guys extra to add in there?
I'd like to ask.
Yeah.
How far is the bark mulch in front to where you get to the lawn?
About 2 feet. That's what I'm saying. So if I moved it to the. He has dog poop piled up behind the thing too. So I have a picture of that. So just to not be nice.
No other questions for them? You guys good? Okay, so we'll close the public comment, deliberate as a board, and then we'll go through the 5 criteria. You guys got any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would vote for a 3 foot. I think the same as the neighbor has. I think that would
think
be
that's
reasonable.
It's a tight neighborhood for
You
sure.
can- It's a tight neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood. I know what it's like. I mean, I have a 0.28 of an acre of lot, so I'm right 2 streets over. Eric's the same way. Well, he's got a little bigger lot. He lives higher on the.
I have a mansion.
But I think 3 feet, if the neighbor's 3 feet from it, I think to ask them to put it 3 feet, I think is reasonable. You can get behind it if you have to do any type of maintenance.
Staying
And I
consistent.
think I don't think another foot's gonna be a killer on the whole thing. And they're able to use the shed. She's able to use the shed for what she wants. So that would be my thoughts, but that's just me.
my thoughts as well.
Everybody, yeah?
Yeah.
You guys ready to go through the criteria? Yeah, cool. All right. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest.
So do you want the applicant to read? Are you gonna read it?
Oh, I was just gonna read it, but
Okay.
I don't know. It's a private residence and it's attractive and not an eyesore. I kind of like what we just talked about. It's a tight neighborhood.
Yeah.
They put a nice shed up.
I mean,
It fits with what other people are doing.
shed looks fine. I mean,
If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because homeowners have small lots, take great pride in maintaining their property, and many homes in the village have sheds on property line, including both abutters. I think the spirit of the ordinance is to kind of not
And I
like
think
things
that's what
get
we're
too
talking
crazy.
about, do the same as what the neighbors are doing.
Keep talking. Everybody there with that? Granting the variance would do substantial justice, and provide homeowners with much needed storage while providing the abutter some additional privacy. I agree with this in the 3-foot sense. Again, it's keeping consistent with what's going on around there. If the variance we're gonna have to make an amendment to this. Sorry, I'm changing the subject, right? Because technically this
No, that's fine.
variance
You can offer less relief
than what they
as a
asked for.
decision, yeah.
If the variance were granted, the value of the surrounding property would not be diminished. Again, it's a decent shed they've put up. It's consistent with the neighborhood. Owning the special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship. The lot is small, and if the variance is not approved, they'd have no other place to put the shed. And the same thing is, it's a proposed use as a reasonable one because it keeps the lot neat and clutter-free. I agree, these tiny lots don't make for much space to store your lawn equipment. Everybody okay with that? Oh, we don't have to go B because A was established. Correct. Yeah, anything else in there? Everybody's good?
I think somewhere it needs to be stated that, the 3-foot idea.
In our motion.
Yeah.
We'll make it in our motion.
Like we have a Hampshire fail, so we can amend it.
Yeah, we'll amend it to.
Am I supposed to make a motion?
No, you're supposed to make a motion. You can ask for a motion. You can ask
Somebody wanna
anyone
make a
else to
motion?
I'll make a motion
Sorry, I'm learning my role here as chairperson.
for ZB 21-13 that we grant the variance of 7 feet, so
7
variance
feet into the
of 3
setback,
feet from setback, so they're allowed 3 foot.
be 3 feet from the property.
Yes.
So we're allowed,
So
I'm
it's
confused on
really
that.
7 feet, so they can be 7 feet
right.
into the setback.
Yep.
That's how we word it. and
There's your
3 feet
buffer
from
of
the
3
property.
feet.
so we're allowing a 7-foot variance is technically what we're doing.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, we allow 7-foot variance on the 10-foot setback.
Any seconds?
Wait a second.
I'll second.
Seconded? All right. Those in favor of approving zoning board 21-13 with a 7-foot variance, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
How long do
Awesome.
I have to move it, like?
4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
The moment you get home. I don't know the honest to God answer to that.
In a timely
Reasonably,
fashion,
yeah.
You know, in a timely
Usually they're
fashion.
not ruling on something that's already there.
Okay.
So, you know.
Yeah.
If you call as soon as it's moved, we'll check it. I mean, within 30 days.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
All righty. Next case 21-14, Raymond, Levassier? Levassier? Okay, sorry. Alright. So same thing, just tell us what you got going on. I think us reading the variance things works a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, you do a good job.
Good to go, yeah. Yeah, just your name and I think that's all they need is your name.
Okay, my name is Raymond Levasseur, and I reside at 6 Pearl Lane. 6 Pearl Lane property has always been a seasonal property for us. I am no longer considering it seasonal. I'm going to make it year-round. So in order to keep my wife happy and me not having to run to the laundromat, by the expansion on the east side, the 8-foot out on the east side of the property, will allow me to put extra room in the bathroom, the bedroom, and the kitchen. The addition to the back of the property, another 8 feet, would add just room to the 2 bedrooms. It wouldn't make 2 new rooms, it would only make additional space. My wife's sort of unhappy to have bedroom furniture in the living room because it just doesn't blend with everything else. So that's basically what we would like to do. And I understand there is one issue. On the west side of the property, I only have approximately 15 feet where I should have 20. So that's an issue.
Just trying to pull up Google Maps here. It's not gonna cooperate. Okay. So you're this lot kind of across from the water?
My lot across the road from the water.
Across from the water,
Give
okay.
you-
Mr. Lavasser, you already only have like 15 feet anyway. You're not really,
I'm not
you're not
adding to
encroaching anymore
I'm
than
not
you
adding to
already
the
are.
15 feet, but I don't have
You
the
know,
8-foot addition to the back. I don't have the required footage in order to keep it.
correct, but the corner of your house is currently the same
Yes.
that it's gonna be.
Correct.
Well, not quite really, but.
So I don't
It's
know.
awful close. See right here?
So he's encroaching
oh,
more, because all this is not encroaching. Here, so this is what was encroaching, I was expanding.
But I'm saying from here, what's the distance across here?
Is
Where
this
there's
much more
existing
building
house?
that's encroached, right?
Yeah.
That's what is going on.
But
Okay.
it's on this side that we're talking about, correct? It's only on this
Right.
side.
Right.
It's not in the back.
It is, it's on the back, I know. And here's the map, if you want to know where it's located from the water. Yes, and look at this. This is
Okay.
Lot
It's lot
29.
Lot 29.
29.
This is like.
And
This
this
one is
is,
kind of shaded,
This
not
is
really
the-
shaded.
so how is
but
this, which way are
Which
we
way is it?
turning
So-
Pearl Lane?
Yeah, I was like.
Is it turning like that?
Sorry, we're just orienting ourselves here.
Is that Pearl Lane there? So
Pearl
this is,
Lane
It
is.
takes me a long time.
so this is the lot here to here. This is Pearl Lane here, right?
This
And this
No,
is-
I think this is, isn't this on Andrews?
I'll turn around down.
Mr. Lavasser, would you come up here and just show
Here's-
us so
well, yeah.
that we can?
Here's the bigger map. So here's 28. You got this one this way, so here's 29 and 28, and here's the water. So you've got it right, so 29,
Yeah, so it's like,
31.
this is
Yeah,
right
right
here,
here.
Pearl Lane, and this is Pearl Lane.
Right, and he's coming this way in this lot. Okay.
So here's the house, here's the water, here's 29.
And this, he's basically
this is
continuing
31
this
and-
here, correct? He's
Yeah,
basically
so that's
continuing
us.
this right here
By 8 feet.
by 8 feet.
Where's the deck?
There's a deck
Yeah,
right
there's the
here,
deck.
So he's going this way 8
On,
feet.
on the deck side, we're going 8 feet out, which would be
On the-
approximately where the deck
He's saying the
ends.
deck side here.
And
He's saying
8 feet
this
on the
way.
back.
I
yeah.
think.
And I've already gotten, I'm sure you've.
But that's not an encroachment on that side though, right?
Correct.
Shoreline protection from it. For the-
But this is not an encroachment over here,
On the deck side.
on this side.
It isn't. The issue here, for me, that I just want you to consider was you've got wetlands here, there's a wall. And I did put some notes in the comments in the file. This is a very wet lot. I just want to make sure, and they're right up against the sewer line.
Oh, the sewer line goes through here?
CDS.
Yeah,
that's the
CDS.
sewer line.
Oh, yeah.
So those are just a couple things I wanted you just to know of, and
So there's an easement for the sewer
yeah.
Yes,
it's
there
going
his
through the
sewer line.
property?
Yes, sir.
I spoke-
And who else's sewer line is it? Mr.
No one.
No one,
because
just
it runs-
yours?
It runs straight out to the street and up the road.
Oh, it's just the sewer line for your house.
Sewer line for my house.
Yeah, you gave me, I'll give you that one. to start. Thank you. So I did speak to.
I think what's
The
happening
sewer
is,
line runs this way, and he says
Yeah,
it's from his
so-
house, so why isn't it going this way?
It goes, here's the, I talked to John.
The
Where's
sewer
the-
line's
where's
right
the-
here.
yeah, where's the,
yeah,
It says, is this the one that says, is this the bait? I'm upside
That's
down.
the sewer line right here.
Yeah, right, so it stops there.
Okay.
This is, they have their own pump station under there. And so what it does is the line,
Oh,
this
this-
just pumps it out
They
to
have
here.
it, they have their own.
The house has its own.
Johannes says there's a pump station under here and it pumps it out to her line.
Okay.
So this is really their line, so if
So in other
he-
words, they're lower than the street. They've got to, the street's got to be higher than they are if they're pumping up, because
Okay,
they
yeah.
wouldn't be pumping down.
Right, they wouldn't be pumping down. So it pumps only, so that manhole is only theirs to them. So they cannot cover the manhole
Yep.
because they have to have
Yeah,
access.
which they're
But
not.
the line
and
is
he's-
theirs, nobody else is on the
So
line.
he holds all the responsibility if they,
So if he builds
Earth the
over
line,
that sewer line and they had to dig up his house,
That's his own fault.
so that's what.
it's only going to affect him. It isn't going to affect any
It's
of the
still not a good
neighbors.
idea to.
No, but I'm just saying,
This is a non-conforming lot,
breaks his own
right?
pipe, then.
The end.
I think it's both of them along the line. Is this one
28.
too?
28 is,
It's just-
Ooh, that one might be enough. I don't know.
I don't know, that's,
That one looks like it's got a house on it.
it does.
Yeah, I just think the lot that he's talking about encroaching on is a
Yeah,
non-conforming lot, so it's unlikely to be built on. Right.
28, right?
Oh.
Maybe just a little bit more than his askew a little bit.
So no.
We don't know what the setback is at the front corner.
That is not going,
That may be.
He's going all the way over here. This is gonna be an encroachment
no, nope. The encroachment's only
on this
on
side.
this, it's like this chunk of this construction
Yeah, but isn't it on this lot, not this lot over here?
here. No, it's on this lot.
In how-
Yeah.
Is that all this is?
It's because this is upside down compared to this.
This is their
Oh, that lot?
original
Right.
plan
No, I don't think so.
before.
Right, because
Oh, yeah.
here's the house.
So this is gonna be,
Yeah.
This is the existing.
this is
plan.
like this. That's what's screwed up.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So he's
That
encroaching
makes
on this
sense.
lot.
Here's the wall.
He's
Here's the-
approaching on a non-conforming
We're
lot.
just trying to
Right.
like
Right,
line
it's
it up
only
with
built
this
in that
picture.
wooded area, that's it.
So it can never be developed.
Well.
Without a variance, you never know.
Can never be.
It's small.
Here's the property.
It's kind of tiny, small to do anything unless you put the shed on it.
It's 50 feet,
Here's the
but
patio.
Like 10
Here's the
back.
patio.
I don't know.
yeah, it's not much.
No.
Oh, and this is the deck.
And this is a funny 50
Where's
B,
the shed?
so,
Yeah,
the shed
it's probably
back here?
50 feet.
And I-
you know, this is a 50 feet on this line here.
The shed's
Right,
over
right.
there. I
But
think
if you
this
go
goes
as the
this
crow
way.
flies, it's probably more than 40 feet across.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I guess what we're also saying is the existing
Because this
house
is
already is
28
not.
here, right? Is that 28? Should I say 28?
Correct.
And that's what I was saying.
Here's
He was right there where he's not like he's getting any closer. He's just gonna,
So this goes like this.
it's hard to sleep when your wife's up.
Yeah, this is on the property line. I mean, this is a
Not
little
too bad
skewed.
that
This
she,
is on the property
she
line.
feels better when she sends me out to the movie.
Yeah, so he's going this
So
way.
that's
you
the
know,
existing, and here's the proposed.
You gotta try to keep everybody happy. Again,
It's
Yeah,
no
so if
fun
you
going
look
to
at
lawyer,
it-
man,
I think
I know
we're-
that.
Yeah, so if you look at it, here's 28.
He's asking for a setback from this lot, basically.
From
the
28.
setback on
I had it
this.
upside down. I
Yeah.
I
28.
thought it was the big lot here,
All right.
32, but it's actually.
28's here.
Right, 28's here, so you do it
So
like
it's actually
this.
like this.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And see, he's right up against the line here. He's right up against the line here,
Right.
right? And he's coming this way, but what he's going to encroach on more is here. This is what he needs a variance for here,
Right. Okay.
okay?
And no one's living there because there's no
Well, it's a
no
non-
building,
This is a non-conforming lot,
Yeah.
right?
Conforming lot.
but there's no building on there or anything.
This
on
is a
that.
non-conforming lot, 28.
Yep.
Just
28
woods
is
there now.
right.
I'm sorry.
The lot number 28 is just woods.
There is a
And
shed
this, even though
building
he's only coming in, he doesn't need
But no
a
one lives
variance to do
Nobody,
this.
no,
No,
it's
as long
a
as he
shed.
doesn't get,
Yeah,
I'm just,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just concerned how close he goes to the wetlands.
Right.
Interesting.
But we can't even,
Yeah.
okay.
What's
Oh, they
that?
just don't-
She was just mentioning that there are wetlands here just to be aware of.
Yeah.
But
And I was
even-
worried about the septic line,
Mm.
which, I mean, the septic line, the
Yeah.
sewer line, which we have to just be aware of, that doesn't pump, like Scott said, make sure it doesn't not affect anyone else.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
what I
all the thing
checked
I
with
was
John.
asking. It only affects him. If he does damage to that, then he's affected himself. And
And
his
only-
wife's going to be very unhappy then.
right, and he's
It's not only gonna
already
be Just the.
Encroach.
he's encroaching
It's gonna be
here, so it's
more-
already non-conforming as a
issue with-
building, so he needs a special exception
Anyways,
anyways, and a special exception for the non-conformity and then the variance.
right. Okay.
Okay,
That's why we
Good.
both.
Yeah, we're talking about that right there.
right, and the
Mhm.
whole building is encroaching here, so he needs it.
Okay.
Make it more non-conforming.
Hmm.
All right. I think I'm understanding now. Yep. You guys good down there?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
Understanding?
He's about 15 feet here. He's still going to be about 15 feet there. The line's almost running away his house.
You just running with it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we were talking, we kind of had a sidebar over there without you guys. Sorry about that. We were talking about how this is a non-conforming lot
Right,
anyways.
right.
In addition to where he's looking for that setback from. Just one of the things we brought up.
Now, what are, you're doing this proposed addition, are you going up in elevation
No.
also?
We're just going to we're keeping the same elevation on either side.
Okay.
And you did say you're going from seasonal to full-time,
Yes, sir. They're already actually full-time because the house in Manchester is gone.
Okay.
And so there it is.
In 1 weekend, it disappeared.
Oh, yeah, well, in a day.
Any more questions for him right now? No?
No, I'm fine.
Any public comment? No, none? No butters or anything? All right. Well, then we'll close public and start conversing amongst ourselves.
I think I'd read down through them, Chair, as you've done in the past.
Sounds great. You guys don't have anything to talk about beforehand?
No.
Okay. All right, looking for a variance from Article 7, Section 2.1C. Number 1, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the zoning restriction interferes with the applicant's reasonable use of the property, considering its unique setting in the environment and within the existing subdivision development. Sorry, I'm just gathering my thoughts here. You guys can also feel free to speak first.
I think I agree with that. I think that, he's trying to move in to be a full-time resident. I do have to have a reasonable amount, and I don't think he's interfering, he's not approaching, he's basically running right the same line he's been running right along.
It's keeping the nature of the house.
Yeah.
It's vacant. The one he's abutting against where the variance actually is an undeveloped and basically undevelopable lot.
Right, so I agree. Well, he is, but it's not.
There's not another person there that he's approaching on or going to be in the future, in theory. If the variance are granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the variance requested is consistent with the spirit of the ordinance, which is intended to provide for orderly development and reasonable use of personal property. That as well. Yeah. I agree. He's making this house a livable space. I really, it comes down to butters, no butters that might care, and the space isn't even on their house. That's a big crutch,
I
right?
agree with that.
Granting the variance would do substantial justice because this will allow for the modest expansion of an existing dwelling on an existing non-conforming lot. I agree. Yeah, this is great. He's doing a lot of work for us. If the variance were granted, the values of surrounding properties would not be diminished. The proposed use does not alter the essential character of the neighborhood and would harmonize and improve overall values of surrounding properties by improving the structural value of the subject property. Again, I agree. He's making a house.
Yeah, the house is already, we're just following the same line as the house now, so we're not.
Keeping its lines. Owing to a special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, denial of variance would result in an unnecessary hardship because no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision of the property. Because without granting this variance request, reasonable expansion of the structure would not be allowed. This is one that I always like. Is what this person asking for going to hurt the public at all? And there's no abutters for it to get hurt on.
No.
He's not expanding into it. The other half of it is his own property to do whatever he wants with. The proposed use is a reasonable one. Will allow for modest expansion of an existing dwelling in an existing non-conforming lot. Awesome. And we don't have to do B because we met A. That's it. That's all.
So if you would, when you are ready to make a motion, you should make a motion to allow the expansion of a non-conforming lot or non-conforming structure, and then second, your variance. Okay? Because the ordinance says you need to allow the expansion of a non-conforming lot.
And the setback.
And the setback.
Just spell out both. Okay, I understand. Somebody want to make a motion?
So we have to make two motions then.
Correct, it'll be clear if we have two motions.
So the first motion, I'll make a motion, the first one on ZBA case 2114. I'll make a motion to grant an exemption for the size of the structure with the encroaching. Is that what we're
To
talking about?
expand a
Yeah.
non-conforming
to expand a non-conforming structure.
I second that.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're all in favor.
And then the second one is the setback.
It's the
Which-
variance.
The variance was set back.
I'll make a motion on ZBA case 2114 to allow a motion to allow, what, 15?
variance.
Variance within the setback of 15 feet.
So 15,
Variance from
14.
Article 7, Appendix C, to allow
I think it's 14 3/4 is what you need, correct?
14 3/4.
Yeah.
But we're actually allowing what? 5, he's got 14 3/4, but it's 20-foot setback. So do we word it that it's,
If you want to be consistent with, if you start doing that, that's fine, so we'll allow the encroachment of.
because that's what we're actually allowing, right? Because he has 14 feet 7, so we're actually allowing 5.5, roughly 5.5 feet
Into the setback.
encroachment into the setback. Correct? That's probably how we should word that,
Yeah, yes, we're letting you go 50.
because that's what he's asking for.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be my motion to allow encroachment in the setback of 5.5 feet.
Does that, do we have to clear that up at all, or is that?
No, that's good.
Okay.
I'll second
Per the
it.
plan, and you can say per the presented plan.
Per the percentage plan.
I second it.
Those in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Passes. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
There you go, sir. Good luck with your wife.
Well, I'm only gonna say this. I'm only
And I
gonna
hope
say-
she's not watching on there, because I feel bad for you if she is.
No, her and I joke all the time, but to give her the idea that we're gonna sell the property in Manchester, which we've had for 23 years. 23 years of, you got 3 bedrooms, a full basement, a garage full of stuff, and then you say to her, we're moving. And I got her to agree to that end. And I ended up doing most of the moving because I didn't want to hear her. And anything that was mine that I don't need, you know how I'm gonna save this for another day, I'm gonna use it later,
Gone.
gone.
Well, I think that's why all these storage facilities are blowing up everywhere.
I have a 20-foot Connex trailer on the back property. That's for the furniture that couldn't go into the house.
Just in case you have to have a place to live.
Yeah, doghouse. Yeah, you got it. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
Good evening.
Have a good night.
All righty, case 21 dash, you guys good? Anybody need a break around set? No, good to go? Okay. 21 dash 15.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to help these folks.
No, we're fine, we're fine.
I'm just gonna say if they need to get.
We don't, we're fine.
Whatever works for you. That-
Thank you, I was giving them a bad time. You're gonna be kind enough to let me jump in.
Whatever order you guys want, it's fine with us.
No, you're fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
My name is Scott Ives. I am joined by William Stanion. I'm the general manager at Belknap Subaru. And we have come to you tonight because we reached a milestone. We've been at our location for going on 13 years. And our signs lasted about 3 years longer than they're normally supposed to. And so when we realized that we were going to have to replace the signs that are currently there, the Subaru asked us why we did not have a sign that comported with the branding of Subaru. The normal sign that would be in front of a Subaru garage our size is called the P90 sign. And I think in the handouts there, it kind of spells out what a P90 is. Originally, when Belknap Subaru was put together by Jewett Construction, I don't think that they listened very carefully to Subaru, and I think they just did whatever was beneath the ordinance at the time. So one of the things that we have considered when making this decision is to have the sign company take a look at our site and make some recommendations to us. When you get off exit 20 coming from the south, when you get off at the north exit, the state of New Hampshire has done a diligent job of posting signs that tell you how to get to where you need to go. Unfortunately, those signs pretty much blot out Belknap Road. We've had customers drive by the dealership, had customers call us, beat down the road, ask us where we are. So we would like the size of the sign increase so that our customers can find us when they're coming off that exit, because it's really a vital gateway to our business. We do a lot of business all over this region, and 93 is certainly a great pathway to us. That's my spiel.
Cool. Questions for him?
What do they currently have? What do you have currently for a sign, Mr. Ives?
We have what is called a P35, and I think in the handout, they show what we have currently versus what we're asking for. And I'm pretty sure it's actually undersized based on the ordinance.
Right, 40 square feet is allowed.
Right.
If you
Doesn't say.
take P35, assume that's 35 square feet.
Well, you would assume that, but
5 foot. But you're
the
allowed
P90 is
40.
like 99,
This
I
is
think.
where,
Yeah,
this is where,
yes.
and this is where he wants to double the size.
And you want to go up another 5 feet compared to what it is now.
Yes. And that's largely because of the state signage. Again, I don't think I'm talking out of school. Anyone who gets off exit 20 can easily see what I'm describing. In fact, I think Mr. Stanion has a video of it if you want to see it. I don't know that it's necessary, but it is there.
Might be a low.
Right.
Does any of this go back to planning board at all?
They're not relocating the signs, so it will not go back to planning board. This
Okay.
is just for the ordinance. The site plan just says they have to meet the regulations of the sign, so if they're not, when it comes to zoning. Procedurally, I just wanted to, I mentioned to Matt and I think Brian, so there are two issues. One is obviously the size of the sign, which would need a variance, and the other is the height. And the height is actually listed as allowable. Anything higher is under a special exception. So when you rule, we posted it both as variance, which is a higher criteria, so it's fine regarding to posting, but you need to make the adjustment that the height is a special exception, and you should address it as such. And I think you can deal with the sidewalk if everyone is familiar with the site and location, because there's no ground issue, it's more just the sign, so just that correction.
But the location's the same spot where the current sign is.
I believe they're using the same location.
Are they using the same pole or?
No,
No, it's a whole different
well, it
base.
has to be a new pylon
Higher.
because it's higher.
But I mean, is the base, are you going to go off in the same base? Mr.
Oh, yeah,
Ives?
yeah, no change in
The base.
of the, yeah.
Are you guys all comfortable as far as the special exception goes?
Yeah.
And just continuing tonight?
Yeah, I think, because we all know where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing, I think it would be a change if he was going to reposition the sign on the
Correct, because
lot.
it could
Then
take
that,
up parking and that.
that's great. Then I think we would say we'd want to go in line of sight also, where if he was going to move
Between
to a different, and he's already been there for 13 years, so.
Also, one thing, variances were granted previously to Power Sport.
Also for the Honda garage,
Is it
we were given
HK
their
Power Sport
their signage
got
also.
variances for the wall signs, and I noted what you granted for Honda, not that you set precedent here.
No,
So you don't
no,
need to follow that, but just
No.
for information.
no, but it's the same thing. They want to be seen, same type of business. So.
In the same area.
Any more questions for him?
No.
No? Any public comment? Anybody online? No?
People who want to jump front, you didn't want to comment on?
I've been coming to Tilton up 93 since 1991. Coming up the ramp he's talking about, I had to ask my wife where the Subaru dealer was.
But you could see the
So there's
McDonald's,
definitely a sign problem there because I had no idea where.
but you could see the McDonald's sign.
And Motel 8. And Motel 8.
I think go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, good to
I
close
would
it.
say,
All right, we'll
yeah.
close public comment and go through this. So we are going to start with the variance because that's the harder thing. If you guys are on board with that.
Yep.
And we'll do the signage, the size of it. Variance from Article 2, Section 3, to permit the installation of a P90 sign. So we're looking for 90, is it not, there's kind of a discrepancy here. The written one here says 98 square feet, but this says 99 and a half.
I know, when I did the math, I think it's, I mean, it's got,
I don't want to argue with her, but I just have to assume that the Philadelphia Sign Company knows hopefully what they're installing.
Okay, so what do you want to ask for? So we're on the same page.
Whatever Philadelphia
7 and-
sign has indicated.
it's 7 feet 6 inches by
13
13 feet 8 inches.
Well, this says 13.1.
Yeah, 13
Is that what I
feet,
said?
1 inch.
13,
Change it all to inches.
Yeah, of course it is.
I think I did.
13.1 would be just over an inch and a half, an inch and a quarter.
7, so small. If someone can see what
So
exactly.
it's
it is.
90 by 98.1? Okay, so we're gonna, what do we want to call it? We want to call it 99?
Yeah, call it 99 in case there's someone doesn't go up there and measure and say, well.
And this is a piece of trim or some silly thing. All right,
then you
everybody good with that?
Yeah.
So an article to permit the installation of a P90 sign, looking for 99 square feet where 40 is allowed. Granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest. I think that this, exit 20, that entire development, this is what signs do nowadays. I don't think that this is public interest because people aren't hunting around looking for signs, but.
Well, I think in all fairness, if you've got a sign so people can see it as opposed to driving by and then have to try to turn around on that road, especially 140, it's tough. You know, once you get past a certain distance here, you gotta go quite a ways before you're gonna make a turn, come back.
You're right. You guys all?
Yeah, I agree. There's,
I agree.
I mean, McDonald's sign is huge. It's like, please.
If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. From the applicant, the new sign would be of smaller size and dimension as the stores in this district. The spirit of the ordinance, I think, is about not having outrageous, ridiculous signs popping up all over the place. And I think that this falls into consistency of what we've allowed as a town in that other area.
This still gonna be internally lit, right?
Yeah, it's the same sign. The only thing that's lit is the logo.
Okay.
The regular sign is not.
Okay.
I just put them in the same place.
Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would grant Belknap Subaru visibility from exit 20 heading north and Route 3.
Yeah, I agree.
If the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because they all have similar signs. Board of that. Only to the special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because the current sign cannot be seen from from the northbound exit. And no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance or the provision and the specific application of that provision to the property. The P90 sign is recommended by Subaru for a business of this size. I think so much of this comes down to, for me, that what the rest of the area around it looks like. This is fitting within what the 140 development has become.
Not going up 50 feet.
The proposed use is a reasonable one because it is of comparable size to other businesses in this district. And then the special exception,
Let's work on the.
you want to
variance.
square that right away
Yeah,
first?
yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good to me.
I'll make a motion to grant the variance on ZBA case 21-15 for the size of the sign, 99 square feet where 40 square feet is permitted.
Seconded.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That one passes. And then the special exception, I have those right here. We can go through these criteria. So this is for 5 extra feet of height, 25 feet where 20 is allowed. The Board of Adjustment may, in appropriate cases, and subject to appropriate conditions and safeguard, grant permits for uses permitted as special exceptions as set forth in the articles of this ordinance. Before reaching a decision under this article, the 3 members of the board shall view the subject area. Said viewing shall be noted in their records. The board, in acting on their application, must find the following conditions are met. The specific site is an appropriate location for such a use. I think that one's pretty
Yes,
self-explanatory.
I'd say so.
No factual evidence is found that property values in the district will be reduced due to incompatible land use by such a use. That's a lot of word uses in there. No, I think that's also pretty straightforward. There's no evidence it's going to reduce the property there. No one's presented any. There's no valid objection from any butters based on a demonstrable fact.
Not even any
Objection
others.
at all. No nuisance or hazard is involved. Keeps it consistent with the rest of the area. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation and the proposed use. There's adequate area for safe and sanitary sewage disposal. Have you thought of that? Operation
Guess
in
it
connection.
seagulls, huh?
Yeah.
You got an idea about that, I'd be really happy to hear it.
Operations in connection with such a use shall not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reasons of noise, fumes, odor, or vibration than would be the operation of any permitted use in the district which is not subject to special exemption. No, I don't.
No, that doesn't even apply.
And in acting in such an exception, the board shall take into account the general purpose and intent of the ordinance to preserve community values and impose conditions and safeguard in addition to those specified in the ordinance. I don't think that it needs it.
No, only because everyone else.
I'll make a
Awesome.
motion that we grant the special exemption for case CBA 21-15 for a special exemption of a height of 25 feet where 20 feet is allowed.
Seconded? Okay, can I second?
Yeah.
Yeah? I second it. All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? There's none. And that is all set. They both passed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in.
We are very grateful for your help.
Have a good night.
You still need permits.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Philadelphia sign will be calling on your door certainly soon. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Now you're gonna stay for the last one?
You want me to?
By the way, that was unsolicited.
Alrighty, case 21-16, Leonard Hall.
Yes. My name is Leonard Hall. This is my wife, Joan, and we live at 34 Lake Road. We put a 14 by 18, I'm going to call it a large shed on our property back in 2017. Never knowing that it wasn't big enough or we had any real intentions at the time of needing to get a vehicle in it. So we're asking to put an 8 by 10 bump out on the back side of that large shed, which would give us the depth to pull the vehicle into it. So our variance would be to go to a 2-foot sideline setback where 10 feet is required. The building that we built in 2017, and I've said that badly, I think, Leanne, right? In other words, it's now a 20-foot
Yeah.
setback.
That's what you have in your notes.
Okay. At the time that we built the building, it was only 10, and some time it changed to 20, I think fairly recently.
20-foot setback.
I think in your package, you probably have a couple of letters from my abutters that say that they do not have a problem with us putting this addition on, but I'm sure you have questions.
So this picture that you have this is the shed in question?
They didn't give you, they didn't print them in color for you, huh? Yes.
You know, we're a tight budget.
That's right.
This is it right
So
here?
if I pull through that gate,
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
if I were to bump out to the right, there wouldn't be, that you couldn't make a turn and get into that building.
Right, okay.
So he's coming in.
Yeah,
so you can
I see.
turn
We actually put
instead of
cones
back.
out there and tried,
Yeah.
and it was just impossible unless I had a little electric car.
One of the smart ones. Smart.
One of the smart cars would probably do it, you're right.
And you don't want to just do it where you just drive in straight.
Well, that's a possibility. I mean, that could be done with a larger addition. Then it's just for us, it just becomes a site sort of thing. And you drive into the back of our place and it looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
You put that addition on to allow you to drive straight into it, then it doesn't look so nice.
You
back
won't
there.
even see your house.
Had we been smart enough in 2017, we probably would have just done something a little bit different, which is almost impossible to do now.
That nice picture. Just that nice picture there. Oh, I do have it. I like it.
I don't know if you have a color one, so the color ones in the office.
I've got them right
If I
here.
can pass on, just maybe if you want to.
That fence is yours, sir?
The chain link fence in the back?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, next to the color. You guys want to put,
Is that chain link fence on the property line or is that?
It's about a foot
Towards
onto
your
our
property.
property.
Here are the color ones, if you can see that.
Oh.
Look through them.
I tried to give you an idea of what was going on the property on the big print.
So if you, oops, sorry, go ahead. No, you
Go
first.
ahead, Chair. I didn't mean to step on you.
No, that's okay. If you did do, so you drove straight in, you would be coming basically across this cobblestone style driveway.
Well, that's actually previous pavers.
Okay.
That were put in to, one of, it was a DES requirement.
To allow water to
That-
permeate through.
Exactly.
Yes. Yep. The question I was going to ask you, Mr. Hall, is already you have this chain link fence running on two sides of your garage, correct?
That's
Down
correct.
the side and the back.
That's correct.
So, I mean, people can't go through there anyway. You see what I'm saying? That, and you said that's within 1 foot on your side of the property line? Is
That's
that
correct.
So you would be within 2 feet of that or?
There'd be about a 2-foot walk space between the chain link fence and the back of the addition.
Okay.
So you'd be more like a 3-foot setback off of your property.
Well, based on the, if you can believe, which I'm sure you can, the drawing that you have.
Yeah.
They say there's 10 feet from the back of the existing building to the lot line.
Okay.
Or I can't really tell if it's to the lot line, Matthew, or whether or not it's to the fence. It's a little unclear
Okay.
because the fence existed before that building went in.
Right. Okay.
actually, now that how big is the entire structure going to be? When
The
it's a
new,
garage, the
oh,
new?
the new is going to be an additional 80 feet. But but the existing is 14 by 18, whatever that is.
320.
So,
We wonder if it would be under 200.
I didn't know how big it
No,
was,
it's,
because then you'd only need 10, but.
but this is
It's
this,
14 by 18?
the
That's
total one
250
is
right now.
14.
The existing is 14 by 18, yes.
is this your house or what is this that I'm looking at here, this building?
That's a small tool shed.
Okay, that's a tool shed. Okay.
That shows up on the big drawing.
And that's already closer.
Oh, right.
See that?
Okay.
And it is,
Closer
you're
to the
correct.
property
Yes.
line.
That's at a 6.5.
That's been there
foot
for
setback.
20 some odd years.
Yeah.
Man, all these tiny little lake house properties.
Huh?
Just, I mean, of course, it's always in these tiny, like 10 dense lake house properties.
Well, I think one of the things that, where he's got that chain link fence going around there, no one's going to be going, has been going through there anyway, be able to walk through or whatever, even though it's his property. But I mean, and then he's got a shed that's been closer.
Is this a butter? One of the ones who wrote the emails, Leanne, the lot
I think we have
38.
2 abutters that wrote.
Yeah, what's the name?
One of them is Leaf Martinson.
Fine. Well, Fine is the one that's
Albert.
behind the shed.
So he's where you would be encroaching into his,
That is correct.
it's Albert Fine who wrote this, okay.
They both wrote letters in support.
Yeah, Leaf is lot 40
Okay.
Leaf is lot 40, okay, and then
and Fine is lot 38.
Fine is the one who quote unquote suffers from this. He's the one who is the setback who's being encroached on. I
And what
should say.
about lot 36B?
That is yours, right? They're all co-owned. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Well, I'm looking at 40, there's someone circled this, it's showing 40, 39, 38, and then 36B, and then 37 over here.
yeah, they're either owned by,
Well, 40, which is Martinson,
Yep,
owns the one in back of them. That property used to belong to Phillips Cottages. And when it became condominiums, they gave us an opportunity to buy those little pieces that were on our side of the road that goes down there.
but you see here, your lot's
Can I
39,
walk up?
correct?
Yeah.
You can, yes.
they're all owned by either this gentleman or Martinson, or they're all like,
See, this is.
There's no
this is
extra
Leaf
butter in here,
Martinson's
okay.
And Deb's, this is yours, and then this, but then there's
This
36.
is
little one.
fine.
Yeah, but who's this back here?
That's also fine, 36B.
So they're both fine. Okay,
That's right.
that's what I'm asking.
yeah, they're all owned by one of them,
Okay.
either Fine or Martinson or
Okay.
this gentleman.
So in other words, the two letters we have completely talks with both of the abutters on both
Correct.
sides of the property.
Correct.
I think. Chair.
I think I'm with you. Yeah. Butter's not mine, it's a big deal.
Huh?
I've always loved when the butters come out and come out
Yeah,
and support.
I mean,
That's-
either they're here or they send something like that.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
On one of the drawings I provided you with, I gave you dimensions from where the corner of the new little addition would be to the corner of Fine, the Fine home.
Yes, yeah, I
It's
see it there. It's 30
Not
feet.
right behind.
Oh, it's 62 feet from his home, 30
Yeah.
feet from his garage.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
Trouble is, you can't trade cars for a bigger car once you do this.
Yeah, you're all done. Yeah.
10 feet back.
Try to find a 14-foot car. They're tough to find.
You're not going, unless you get one of those little smart cars.
That's nice.
This is considered regional commercial,
Resort commercial.
resort commercial.
Did I type regional?
That's
No, resort commercial.
because of those condominiums and those cottages, that's what made it that area? I just,
It's
you
just
don't know.
the- it's just the district. It's a resort commercial district. And
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause they're all- yeah,
remember
summer.
That big complex down
a lot of seasonal. Um,
And he's not coming into his maximum lot coverage.
I don't know. I just wanted you to be aware of that
Aware.
because it appears from the plan that there's a lot on there and I just wanted to note it and I don't have any information to say whether they are
Okay.
or not. 60% is the maximum lot coverage you can have. However, I think because he did say that those, because you have the pavers, you got the, you got the sheds, you got the house, small lot. Our ordinance says 60% in that district, but he did mention that those pavers are pervious. So they would not count as
Coverage.
coverage.
Sure.
So I don't know, but it does look like, maybe more than 50% of that lot has something on it as impervious. So I just wanted to make sure you noted that, or maybe got some clarification on that.
Do we have to qualify that in our approval, or is there another mechanism that will catch that on the?
Maybe we can just discuss that. I don't know if he can address it at all, that he knows. Has that ever been addressed on a plan or?
It's never been addressed to my knowledge, unless it's on the big drawing that you have. That was an environmental engineer that created that. And if you look on there, it starts to give you.
Total impact.
Existing conditions within the
1230
shoreline
square feet.
protection, setbacks currently existing in an altered state, area of lot between 50 and 150 now.
When we were done with that small building we put up in 2017, we actually had more pervious soil, more pervious land than when we started.
So because you put that driveway in?
That's correct. And we put gutters on the building, and those gutters are piped to that pervious field.
Which I couldn't see on the plan. And actually, I'm glad to hear that that's
Yeah, that
pervious,
actually
because if you
helps.
look at that plan, it just raised a concern that, some of these small lots near the water, they just keep building and building and building.
But he's already grabbing his water and taking care of it.
Correct. Right, and that kind of maybe
It
answers.
does say on the plan here that the area required to remain unaltered is 2,049 square feet. And right now, total impacts is 1,230 square feet.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, he's plenty. He's plenty.
This is
Oh,
probably
yeah, that gives
going
them
in.
700, almost 700 square feet.
Yeah.
Impact area calculations, temporary 800, permanent 473.
There's a lot of
Total
information on
impacts.
that plan.
There is a lot of
Yeah,
information.
so total
Let's see what they've
1,230.
done.
Impervious surface calculations. Here we go.
Yeah.
Lot coverage, here it is right here, total lot coverage. He is, existing is at 30%.
That's not right. Not even by the scale of it. He's
No, you look
impacting more
on,
than
you look
five
on,
feet.
you look on the map, topographical map, you can tell he's nowhere close.
What do you think, this isn't right?
Yeah, he's only, you're saying that with his lot, between this, and this, he's only used up 30?
I'm not saying it.
I think that I think Eric, what's happening is the area that he put that stone and stuff down, they don't count that.
So it's given a 2,300 square feet for the house.
Well, remember there isn't 2,300 square feet on the first floor.
No, that's the
That's
This
total
is just,
square foot of the house.
Exactly.
I'm just reading impervious surface calculations. House, 2,313 square feet. Shed, 275. Concrete pad, 208. Brick walk, 276. Driveway, 1,292. Total of 4,364 for a total lot coverage of 30%.
Well, the lot's pretty good size.
I'm just reading the number.
It's
That's
got 160 feet down
Does it
this
say what the
side.
lot sizes, total lot size?
area of lot in the shoreline protection zone is 14%. Total lot size.
Does it give acreage?
Yeah, I would be, I mean, there's a lot more lawn there than, I don't think I even encroach a little onto that requirement. That, what you say was 60%?
75.
Yes, yep. I think it's saying you got 14,000
Yeah, you
square
would.
feet
The lot
total.
says it's 0.43 acres.
Yeah, so half an
0.43 times, yeah. it's
So
almost
43,000 divided by
1,005.
2, so you're at 22,000 square feet. 208 square would give you 44,000 some odd. That's an
Right,
acre,
435,
so
six
you're at
times
0.4.
43.
So yeah, he's way below,
Mhm.
way below that.
Go on.
Doesn't look like it.
Well, it's somewhat of an odd shaped lot because it goes like this and then back out,
Yeah,
both in
wise
the
out.
front and the back.
Yeah.
But he's got, on one side, he has over 200 feet. You know, he's
Yeah,
160
this
and
is all
41
part of
feet, and then
it.
the back,
That's
he's
what's
got
doing it.
80 feet across the back and 75 feet across the front, and then down the other side, he's
Build up fast.
74 and 150, so he's 225 on that side.
That little
So
eagle beak.
he definitely is
What's that?
closer
That little
to,
eagle beak.
well,
Yeah, it gives them a ton,
almost,
yeah.
like I said, 208 square would be an
He's got
acre, so-
18,730 square feet. He's got 0.43 acres.
And he's got 4,300 feet of impact.
So that, there you go, right there.
I just wanted you,
No, I'm glad I cover all the bases. Absolutely. All right, I'm good with questions.
Yep, I'm fine.
Any more?
I'm fine with it.
Good, Brian? Any public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and begin going through our criteria.
Sorry, I didn't get more creative with that. I really struggled with that.
With this?
With the questions.
Oh, I totally understand. Okay, so we are making sure we're getting our wordage the same here. Variance is requested from say 20-foot setback. He's looking for 18 feet, right? Is that correct, Leanne? Great.
18, right.
18
He's gonna
feet
be
of
2
setback.
feet, so 18 into the setback.
Granting this variance would not be contrary to the public interest because this small addition would not change the character of the existing area or affect the neighbor's line of sight. That's a great point. We didn't really consider. It's not.
But Leanne, question on that, just for point of clarification. He has an existing building that when it was originally put up, if there was a 10-foot setback, and then that got changed on the lot to a 20-foot setback.
Nope.
It's always been 20?
Yep. The
So he
10
must have had a variance when he put up the original building?
I couldn't find one. It was a shed, right? The building that he's talking about is a shed.
Correct.
That's right, but there was I'm not gonna beg to differ with you, Leanne, at all, but my understanding was that there was a 10-foot sideline setback when we built that building.
Well, it may have been. The wording was, it wasn't like that. It was, it could be 10% into the total. It was a funny wording when we changed it. I don't know what it was back when you did it. I have to look at the
Well,
year.
2017.
2017. Okay, so it was worded that, I'd have to pull the old ordinance. It was worded that you could be, an accessory building could encroach up to 10% of the total setback. Right, so that it was changed. So whatever that total setback, I guess, so 2 feet. 10% of it was 20, would be 2 feet would be 18. So I don't know. And I think it was, I found that what was determining what that was, it was kind of all over the place, and that's why we made the amendment. So I believe him if he said he was within the setback when he did it, because he got a permit, so. But I didn't find a variance, which, never.
We didn't.
But what we're granting, and this is what I'm trying to get my head around, what we're granting, he already has an existing building. He's looking at adding 8 feet on the back of it.
Right, but he has a shed that he's turning into a garage,
Correct.
right? That is
But
an accessory building over.
He's
2
adding on to it though.
Yeah,
Adding on to the building.
Yeah.
The building already sets and he's not moving the existing building. He's just adding on to it.
right.
So the building already sets where it sets. And he's asking to add 8 feet into the 10-foot area that's behind the building, correct?
Right, but he's still asking to go into the setback 18 feet,
He'll be in the setback 18 feet,
Right.
the total building.
which in this case, he already has this existing building. And this is the whole point of like that, is this particular case, it makes sense. He's got this building that already exists, already well encroaches into it. I think that's the,
And I think that's where I'm caught on,
yes.
because it's like his.
If he was just building this garage, the garage didn't exist,
And that's what I'm saying. It's like a catch-22. You've got the land, you have moved, but yet things have changed with what you own.
Yes. I think that if he was building a garage that didn't exist, it might be a different conversation.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
For clarity.
But we are asking
Yeah.
for an 18-foot variance.
So that in the future, when someone looks at the plans, if he goes to sell in the future, it'll show that he was granted where
18
his
feet,
building is, where he's within 2 feet of the line.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So it'll clarify all that you couldn't find. Right?
Granting this variance would not be contrary to the public interest because this small addition would not change the character of the existing area or affect the neighbor's line of sight.
I think that's true. He's got a shed that's closer.
Yeah, it's good. It's behind the neighbor's line of sight. There aren't houses behind him. It's kind of like looking at the pictures. It's amazing how helpful the pictures are. It feels like it's tucking it into a spot on his property that it fits.
It's actually a non-usable place.
You're drumming, Eric, are you?
No,
Thinking
I'm
still?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because vehicles would now be parked inside of the existing garage, I apologize, after the new addition.
I told you I did a terrible job.
No, it's okay. We're just reading what you have in the record and
I
then.
understand. I think I was trying to say there that, if you lived in a neighborhood, would you rather have your neighbor's vehicle in the garage or out in the driveway? If you had a choice.
Sure, for sure.
That's what I was trying to say, I think.
I think for me, this one, I'm kind of on where Scott's at, that this is like, the building already exists. He's not building a new garage that's encroaching here. He's expanding this building that already exists. I think
That's where I just.
the setback kind of came after it was already there.
Well, they changed the rules on it. He's there and then the rules get changed and it's. You know, if what's Leanne's saying is true, then before it got changed, he would have been able to have this building go within the 2 feet, correct? Is that what you just said?
Potentially, who knows what the
He
math would have
never been
worked
able
out.
to have the building go in 2 feet.
What was the
Was a
10%
percentage.
or?
10% of, you can, I believe it was worded, you can encroach 10% of the total setback. Whatever you can-
Okay. I
So if
see.
the setback was 40, I guess you can encroach 4 is the way I interpret it. If it's 20, you can encroach 2. But
I see.
there were a
I
couple
missed.
different interpretations of that, depending on who the code enforcement officer was at the time. For whatever reason, though, there is no variance. He was granted to build a shed, so yeah. So he
Okay.
still wouldn't have been able to do
Okay,
this.
I misinterpreted what you had stated earlier.
It just, the change was really made for clarification.
Now, if the spirit of the ordinance is to keep people off their property line, saying you're gonna park your car in the garage, how is that keeping with the spirit of the ordinance?
I don't think his case that he makes keeps with the spirit of the ordinance.
But I think, as he said, he kind of butchered what was actually stated. I think what the spirit of the ordinance is that he already has a shed that is encroaching in the area that he's still going to encroach, and it's behind and it's not affecting anybody.
That's where I would see it. I
That's
don't think
right.
the
That's
case,
right.
the argument he makes does not maintain the spirit of the
No,
ordinance.
no, not at all.
But I think what is proposed here maintains the spirit of the ordinance in my eyes. But that's why we're here to discuss it. For sure.
Mm.
Do you want to hang out on this one or keep going
No,
for a bit?
no,
Keep
no,
going?
no, I'm good.
Everybody good? Keep going? Granting the variance would do substantial justice because now that we are retired, having, I don't know what this says, a vehicle parked inside would allow for easier snow removal and car cleanup. Again, I don't think his case that he makes meets it, but the justice, that's kind of the public part, right, Leanne?
Yes.
It's clarifying that
Yeah.
does this
Right.
impede what the public has, and this one always comes back to abutters for me, how abutters feel about it.
And we know how they feel.
And we've got 2 abutters letters, so I mean, I think it's a mute.
The abutters are on board.
The abutters are on board, they're both in agreement. They're the ones that are gonna have to look at it or deal with it,
Right.
so.
If the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because this small addition would have no effect to surrounding property values.
I agree.
Yeah, there's nothing, I mean,
There's nothing.
I'm not a real
going to
estate
make it
agent. There's
look-
nothing out here that seems outrageous that it would be difficult or it would hurt property values. How you guys feel?
I'm fine with that.
Unnecessary hardship, owing to a special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship because no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the provision to this property. These tight lake properties are always there. They always kill me, just because how can you do anything with any of these pieces of property without running into this? That's the hardship of the property to me.
Well, I think that's what I struggle with a lot, because when you have a small lot, when they pass something with the zoning, as far as on lot lines or how much you can encroach, they get affected much greater than anyone else.
Right.
And when you, around the lake or in the village district, it's a lot of smaller lots that was established years ago. And unfortunately, they're the people that feel the pain with what's passed.
The proposed use is a reasonable one. Little or no impact to our neighbors or the neighborhood will allow us to spend more time in the winter at our home. For helping me out through that, Brian. I think this is reasonable. It's a small, honestly, it's a small addition to a building that's already there. I don't know how you guys feel. I hate all
I've
this
said that
language.
right along. It just kind of kills me. I said it.
Any other comments at all?
Nope, I'm ready to move forward.
No,
A motion if
neighbors-
someone wants to make one?
The neighbors are on board with it, so.
So I'll make a motion that when ZBA case 2116, that we grant a variance for a setback in the amount of 18 feet where 20 feet is allowed. Correct?
Required.
Required, sorry.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, it passes. Thank you for coming in.
Now, did you check with Belknap Subaru? Do they have a 14-foot car?
I was gonna say that, but I didn't dare to.
I didn't
If I
know-
would've read
did
you-
not know that gentleman, but,
Really?
yeah, I know, no, I didn't know.
Well, I thought he was trying to sell you a car. I was gonna say it, but I couldn't bring myself to it. I was gonna say, you better watch it. He's gonna sell you a car.
Is there some sort of a waiting period before?
30 days.
30 days. You know,
You
Rocky
don't have to wait the
Junction-
30 days, but there's a 30-day appeal period. So if someone appealed and you built and they won their case, you're at risk. So you have a 30-day risk.
It would have to be in a butter, yeah?
It would have to be in a butter. It have to be someone with an interest.
Yes, so it would have to be in a butter.
And it isn't gonna happen that quick anyways. I just wanted to know so I could pass it
Yeah,
on.
no, that's a
It'll
good,
say
that's a
that in
good
your
question.
decision, it's 30 days.
Have a good
Uh,
night, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
We have
Have a
to
good night.
approve
Minutes.
Yep, and then if you want to just talk about the sidewalk for a minute, we could do that.
Yes. Do we have to approve the site walk minutes also?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should, yeah.
We should.
I
And you
will
have them, right?
abstain from the site walk portion. If you guys have a motion on this site walk minutes?
I propose to accept the minutes from the site walk
As presented.
as presented.
I'll second that.
All righty, those in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? I'm going to abstain because I wasn't there. I don't have the minutes from the last meeting in front of me, but
Oh, I put all that.
I will maintain a motion for that also. I did remember looking at these.
Just in case
I
you
didn't know
want
what
to
this
get
Thank you.
Yeah, that gets back in the old file. That's the last.
Any motions on those?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of June 15th, 2021 as presented.
A second?
My second?
Seconded?
Actually, Matt, can I, that original, I just want you.
Oh, yes, yep.
I need that one.
It was a second. Anybody, of those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? And then site walks.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I know I was not here at the meeting when that whole sidewalk issue came up. And I think you did the correct thing when you scheduled the sidewalk for Mr. Sargent. I know that was difficult for the board because he was pushing to get things moving quickly. And I know there was some question to whether or not the board should be notified ahead so they could do the sidewalk ahead and then come here, and then the applicant only has one meeting to move forward. In my experience, sidewalks should be scheduled here at the board level. The abutter should know that people are coming. You can have all the people. Exactly what happened with this applicant is how the process should work. I think you did the right thing. You did a nice job with that. Conservation attended that. Abutters are usually allowed because they hear at the meeting the sidewalk. They're usually allowed at the sidewalk. It's a public meeting. You keep it brief with discussion because you want to come back here and be an open mic when you discuss. But I think moving forward, that's how we should schedule the sidewalks, is come here when it's appropriate to do a sidewalk like it was here. That's how you find these things out. We would have never even known of the wetlands. You would have gone individually, maybe or maybe not have seen all that. So, and you shouldn't be walking on people's property without them being there. I mean, you shouldn't just show up and say, I'm gonna walk your property because I'm on the zoning board or conservation. So it's the more professional, appropriate way to do it. I think with Subaru, with the sign, yeah, you didn't really need a sidewalk. You recognized you had all seen it and that was fine. So just, I won't be sending you notices and saying special exception, go at your will to do it. I think you should come here and discuss it and do it. And it takes 2 meetings, it takes 2 meetings.
I think if
Can we
it holds them up a month, that's so be.
As long as we just let them know that they, like, that's not a surprise to them.
And maybe we'll add it to the special exception paperwork right on there.
When you have an applicant come in that's gonna need that, I think at that time, you should say, this might take 2 meetings.
Right. Oh, I think we're gonna put it right on the application, say this is a meeting process. with special exception.
One thing that still bothers me with this whole case that we just had is that we're dealing with someone who is not the landowner. And that's really, we're providing an exemption, or we're looking at granting something on the piece of land, not to the individual.
Right, it's a
That's going to
use.
stay with that land forever, correct?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Until it's abandoned. I believe.
Until it's abandoned. But I mean, if it stayed, the problem I have with that is this individual, whether he was or was not aware of what was going on there was a violation in the wetlands that once you walk to the back of that, it was blatant. I mean, an old wheelbarrow, there was other debris that had just been thrown there. And since we've been there, just driving by, you can see the other piles.
Right, and any violation, he's not gonna be fined.
No,
The
I know
owner
he's
is.
not going to be fined.
Right, I mean, so the owner has to take responsibility more so than just saying, hey, if you wanna go get this. I mean, it's one thing to release or give the authorization to seek a variance for a use through the waiver, but this, I think, is a little bit more because this gentleman, may run out of money in fixing it, and then, you granted a relief on a piece of property that
You don't even know.
he doesn't even know.
Well,
right? So-
the other statement that was made that I didn't question it, but I questioned in my head when he was stating it, that he outlined where the wetlands were.
Right.
Right.
How
I mean-
do we know?
We were told, when we went up there, everything was hunky-dory, and then when we got on the piece of land, we saw all kinds of violations.
All right, and that's where you can require, and the planning board could require, a wetland scientist to mark it. DES.
And since the buildings that have gone up out behind that, the wetlands has changed in that area. Because there's been a lot of trees cut, a lot of development out that development out behind the Fash Cache.
So where he isn't the property owner, should we as a board ask for some sort of written approval from the, like as a standard, like we're not gonna hear a case from somebody who doesn't own property on
We
this.
have a sign, that's what I asked him for, because we didn't have it, he was supposed to give it to us, so we finally got it, and it does say it's signed by Mr. Youssef that he gives him authority to present to here and to present to DES. But again, that does not release Mr. Youssef from his responsibility as the property owner on any violations, and how far do you want to allow, I think as Mr.
Yeah.
Davis was saying, to take this, until it's resolved. I think it's simple. I think you wait till DES sends you something with a resolution, and then you don't move forward till you get it. That's how I think you should move. But again, you're judiciary board, you can decide, but.
Well, we probably should wait until it's been mitigated so that we know exactly that everything's been taken care of before you move forward on something like that.
Oh,
Because
that
as
was,
you say, what if we grant something and then he doesn't finish it? He's talking about operating the excavator himself and taking care of the soil. I don't think the DES is going to allow, I don't think he's qualified or.
Like I said, at a minimum, you just
Certified.
wait till DES gives you something.
can we provide him that guidance? I noticed that when Jim did this, he was very cautious not
We
to
got to be
provide
cautious, I think.
guidance. So I just didn't want to cross any lines, and I don't.
Yeah. I mean, he knows his duty. I mean, I say you continued it and see what happens, see what we get from DES in the meantime, because they're aware of it. I know I talked to Jen, she was over there. I mean, we'll get some more information. You just take it at every meeting, what you have.
Case by case. Okay.
Yes, I think you're-
Now, when you say you get landowner permission or
You want
the
to go
owner's
forward.
permission,
With-
is it a notarized signature?
It isn't notarized. I noticed that.
And that's what I
think
wanted
it
to
should
do.
be.
It should be
Yeah,
notarized. How do we know the landowner signed it?
So I think
I agree, and I looked at that when I got it. It should be notarized.
because, just say, this is what.
Should we make that as a criteria? If we're, for the ZBA, if we're dealing with somebody that's an applicant that's not the landowner, then we should have, before we deal with them, I personally feel, before we even deal with them, we should have a letter from the landowner notarized that authorizes this individual to speak on behalf of the landowner.
Yeah, we can have, I don't think you and I'm gonna make that change on the form. When I looked at the form, that's the first thing I saw, because it was
Yep.
kind of very vague on who signed it. So we'll,
Yes.
we'll change the form to say notarized. We can do that.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't have anything else.
We good, you know?
No.
No? Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Okay.
At the hour of 7:50, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
The only thing we did on the-
Yeah.
Those in favor?
Aye. Non-debate.
Motion's adjourned.
I'm gonna leave all my paperwork, Leanne,
I'll make a
so you
Okay.
can.
extra staff.
There. That was easy.
Oh, yeah. Only 2 hours.
You want to get one of those staple buttons so we can punch it. That was
That's
easy.
easy.
Those red buttons. See you next month.
Yes.
See you next month.